When my shared testimony hit the Facebook pages 2 weeks ago, I had so many requests for more stories. So I thought that I would just sit down with my friend, Dawn, who I appreciate so much, and just record a few. And I'll do a few today, and then we'll get together again, and I'll do a few more. So that's the plan. Today, what I thought I would talk about is going to a different country where you don't speak the language. Now, that was very interesting for me. When I went to Black Forest Academy, I knew no German whatsoever. And so I had a German chiropractor, and I asked him, I said, how do you say hello? When I get off the plane, I'd like to say hello in German. And he said, well, it depends. If it's in the morning, you say Guten Morgen. If it's in the day, it's Guten Tag. If it's in the afternoon, Guten Abend in the evening. And I thought, oh, I'll just say hi. So I got off the plane, and he said, where are you going? And I said, I don't know where it is. I'm going to Lorach, Germany. And he said, Lorach? I don't know where that is. A year later, I went back to the same doctor, and he said, and where did you say you were? And I said, I was in Lorach. He said, oh, I lived in Lorach for 13 years. But he didn't know where Lorach was. So pronunciation is a big thing in language. If you want to communicate with people, you have to be able to speak so that they can understand you. But language mistakes are often quite funny. My first language teachers actually were a group of 8 and 9-year-old kids at summer camp. And we called ourselves the Gewichtheber, that's the weightlifters. We were the youngest group and the scrawniest kids. And we were mostly young girls. So I told them, I said, now listen, it's a competition for the week. And I said, do your Bible study every day, make up your bed every day, do everything you're supposed to do, go to all the meetings on time, and we're going to win this competition. We didn't win a single sporting event, but at the end of the week, the Gewichtheber were winners because we did all of the other things that we could do together. So I learned a lot of German in those few weeks that summer. I went back to school and I thought, well, this is going to be interesting. And as a matter of fact, after the first year, one of my Finnish students wrote in my yearbook, what a crazy year. I'm a Finn going to school in Germany in a Canadian school being taught by a lady from East Tennessee. So what a mixed up world we were. And we were, but each of us brought our own flavor to the relationship. So that was really fun and really interesting. And another experience that I had that first summer was, like I said, I didn't know German, okay? So they asked me to stop by on Saturday morning and get the hamburger that we were going to fix for lunch for Saturday. We were going to fix meatloaf, okay? So I practiced all the way to the meat shop that morning. I practiced. I want to buy meat for Saturday morning early. So I practiced and I practiced and practiced. I got to the meat counter and I said, Ich möchte bestellen für Samstagmorgen früh 8 Kilometer Hackfleisch bitte. And she looked at me and she said, kilo? I'd asked for 8 kilometers of hamburger rather than 8 kilo of hamburger. And so when we had too much too much meat left over at the noonday at that meal, she said, I told you that 8 kilometers of hamburger was going to be too much. So those are a couple of things that stood out. So I thought, well, I really need to study this language. So I enrolled in a German class. And I went to the first German class, and our teacher spoke Italian and French and English and German. But she decided that she wasn't going to speak with anybody, anything except German. So she looked at me and she said something. And I looked back at her, and she said it again, a little bit louder. And I didn't know what she was saying. And she said it again, a little more impatiently. And I looked, she said, Stehen Sie auf, bitte. And I said, okay, stehen Sie auf, bitte. What she was telling me to do was just stand up. If she had simply said, stehen Sie auf, bitte, I would have known she wanted me to do something like stand up. But I said, listen, if you'll tell me what you're saying, I can answer you. But I don't know what you're saying. I never went back to that class because she refused to speak anything but German. So that was my experience with German lessons in Germany. I never went back to study anymore. But I had some really, really good friends there where I lived, she was an apotheca. How do you say, a drugstore. She owned a drugstore, the apotheca. And we became very good friends. They were both from the Czech Republic, and they had moved to Germany. And so whenever we were together, it absolutely thrilled them when I spoke to them. I said, "Wie geht es Ihnen, y'all?" I was speaking what she called my Tennessee German. Let me stop for that. Okay. So, want to go back a little bit? Pick up? Want to go back a little bit? That interrupted my thoughts. You want to go on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is just plain live, just me talking to you. That was an announcement I couldn't understand. All right. So, another experience that I had in Germany with language. I wanted to go buy some yeast. And so, I asked my friend who spoke perfect German, how do you say yeast in German? And so she told me. So I went, she told me also where I would find it. It would be at the butcher's counter. So I went to the supermarket and I went to the back where the butcher's counter was, and I said, "Haben Sie Teppich?" And he looked at me, and I said it a little bit louder, "Haben Sie Teppich?" And he just shook his head. Nein. So I went to another store. I thought, well, maybe they're out of yeast. So I went to another grocery store, and I walked back to the meat counter, and I said, "Haben Sie Teppich bitte?" I said bitte because I didn't say please before. I thought, well, maybe that's what I didn't do right. So I said, "Haben Sie Teppich bitte?" And he looked at me, and he said, "Teppich?" And I said, "Ja, haben Sie Teppich bitte?" And he looked at me, and he said, "Nein." So I went back to my friend's house, and I said, "What is the word for yeast?" And she said, "Hefe." And I said, "What is Teppich?" And she said, "Carpet." So I had gone to 2 grocery stores in town asking for carpet at the butcher's counter. So they knew me pretty well there around Condon because I wasn't afraid to use what I knew. And that's how I learned a lot from what I didn't know, that I made big mistakes.